Thanks everybody for coming out. Everybody have a good Easter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. So I know you guys are here for this, okay, for weight loss. And even if weight loss is not a primary focus for you right now, you'll get some good tips just for overall health, okay? Some of the topics that we're going to talk about, you might say, well, I don't really do that or want to do that. A lot of it is geared specifically for weight loss. So if there's certain things, I'll kind of point them out that, hey, you don't have to do this, but this is why we're talking about this particular thing, okay? So effectively losing weight, this is the key part.
Yeah.
Keeping it off, right? Okay? Because we've talked about this before. How many people have been on a diet? Okay, how many people are still on the diet? We got a couple like, yeah, maybe a little bit, okay? Because what happens with diets? They're very what?
Restrictive.
They're restrictive, okay, that's a key word, and they're very temporary. So it might be something where I get a result that's very short term, but then a lot of times it slows my metabolism way down, and then I'm actually in a worse scenario because I put that weight back on plus. Okay, so it becomes a cyclical thing, so we don't want that. Got to figure out technology. Takes a minute. I don't know if you can all read that.
It makes you cry.
So don't step on it, makes you cry. So this is something that I don't want you to do. I don't want us to be focused on the scale, okay? Because focusing on a scale, that doesn't necessarily yield. Obviously, it can be a mediator to see how things are coming along, but don't use that as a primary tool, okay? We'll talk about better things to utilize. So these are 3 things to boost metabolism. These all 3, if you can do all 3 of these, you'll start to see changes within a few days, okay? I can promise you that. So the first one is having some sort of eating plan. It doesn't say a diet, but some sort of a strategy that you can use and you can implement to have the long-term results. So this is something that you can do today, you can do a year from now, you can do 10 years from now. Not a temporary thing where, hey, it's going to be restrictive, so I'm going to quit come 2 weeks down the road. So these are 3 things that if you could start adding in when you're trying to lose weight and boost your metabolism, you're going to start to see results from an eating standpoint, okay? So protein, fiber, and healthy fat. Okay, and we'll talk more in detail about those, but if you can start implementing protein, fiber, and healthy fat, more of it, you're going to start seeing results. In addition to that, the one thing you want to focus on cutting out is what? You guys already know. Sugar, okay?
Oh, sugar.
Sugar creates inflammation. Sugar is going to put you going in the wrong direction, okay? So to be able to cut down sugar, and we're going to talk about this, how to boost your protein intake, boost your fiber intake, because that's going to make you feel full longer. It's going to help with a lot of being able to absorb your nutrition. And then adding, this is actually a real key, especially when you're reducing your sugars, you got to start adding in more healthy fat. And that's definitely going to help with burning fat. Number 2, so this says burst type exercise. Anybody ever heard of that?
Is that like interval?
More like an interval type exercise. Now this is something specifically for fat loss, okay? So if you said, hey, I like to exercise, it's good for my heart, and I want to keep exercise from that standpoint, awesome. Can you have weight loss doing regular exercise? Yeah, absolutely. This is something to enhance and encourage your body to be able to lose fat faster. So there's studies that show, and I'll explain it in a second here, there's studies that show that you can burn anywhere from 3 to 9 times more fat when you do this type of exercise, okay? So combining burst training with interval cardio, that can go up to 10, and we'll explain what that means. But first off, getting back to this, what is it? So burst type exercises say I do something for 30 or 40 seconds like I'm walking, and then I do something that switches it up that's a little bit more intense. So for example, let's say this. Let's say I was walking and I decided to do some push-ups, just a couple, okay? 3, 4 push-ups, they can be from my knees, they can be not from my knees. And then I go back to walking. So changing your body, because it's going to up your heart rate temporarily, and then you'll be back to doing what you're doing. So throwing in those small things to help boost your metabolism can actually help accelerate fat loss. So on the one side of it, you could do something like you're walking and you do jumping jacks, okay? So you walk for a minute, you do 10 jumping jacks, and you keep walking for a minute, you do 10 jumping jacks. It might sound kind of weird if you're outside doing that, but it's something you have the potential to be able to add in. And there's a lot of different ways to go about this. So even if you went on the internet and search like burst training, now I use the term burst. If you go and you search this term burst fit, there's a guy that I know him, and he puts together some awesome stuff. His name's Josh Axe. I think before I gave you draxe.com as a website. So he has a lot from beginners to intermediate to more advanced type of burst type things you can add in your routine. Okay? Trying to think of some other options with that. It's anything where you're just changing it up to alter your heart rate. Okay, so it can be from, even if you decide, hey, I'm at the gym, and I'm going to do one type of exercise, and then I hop on an elliptical or treadmill for a little bit, and just kind of switching things up and doing different things that can alter your heart rate. Okay? This is why this is successful. Okay? Have you guys ever heard of HGH?
Yes,
Yeah? What's it stand for? Anybody know?
human growth hormone.
Who said that? Nice, okay? So what this does, this type of training, is it boosts human growth hormone, okay? So it's considered the anti-aging hormone. You ever heard that? So not only will it help with fat loss, but it'll help your body age slower. The one thing, like if you're doing, say, a lot of long distance running, you can get awesome results, but it can age the body a little bit, okay, believe it or not. So it has that beneficial component, but it is stressful on the body. So this is something that goes against that, because you're not having that level of stress on the joints, on the body. When you exercise for a real long period of time, it produces inflammation. So if, say, I'm doing a lot of marathons and things like that, it's beneficial, it's healthy, but it does also produce a lot of inflammation because it boosts something called cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Okay? So just something to look in for yourself, but this is your key. HGH, or human growth hormone, anti-aging hormone, but it actually helps your body put on more muscle mass. Okay? And you do it in a natural type way. So like if someone is using steroids, a lot of times they'll use HGH. So we're not trying to do that, we're just trying to use our body, what we already have, and produce it naturally. A lot of females get concerned, well, I don't want to get big and bulky, right? You think you're going to get big and bulky?
No.
No, okay. So like females compared to males have about a third of the amount, a lot of the androgenic, which means like testosterone and those type of hormones. So you're not going to get big and bulky. This is the third one. This is the big one. Reduce stress levels. Does anybody have stress? Okay. So emotional stress is a big factor, all right? So here's some tips that can help with stress, okay? One thing, this is something real simple you could do. So say you had 2 pages of paper or a piece of paper in the back side, and one side write out everything that stresses you out. On the other side, write out everything that brings you joy, okay? Then the goal for you should be, what can I do to get the stressful things out of my life and try to implement things, even if it's one thing a week, that can bring joy to your life, all right? So, for example, if you say, I really like to, it might be to be able to go do some sort of exercise that you haven't been doing, or I really like to read a book. Try to find ways to be able to implement that, okay? Because it's obviously going to bring you more satisfaction with life, and it's going to help keep hormones down, like cortisol and these different stress hormones that prevent you from getting a result. So something as simple as the way you think and your stress levels can affect your hormones and prevent you from losing weight. Because that's a lot of problems. Some people are so stressed that they have certain hormones elevated that they can't lose weight. So we want to be able to do things that can bring you to a state that you feel, whether it be better about yourself or just have a better experience day to day. Now there are certain things that stress you out that you can't stop, So the thing is, just try to do what you can, and those lists can really help. Here's another thing. How you begin your day is how your day goes. Okay? Who's woke up late? I woke up late. So how did your day go? It's kind of hectic. It's all over the place. So how your day starts is how it goes. So even in the morning, just doing something. Some people can do things that, whether it be different ways of reading something that brings you gratitude or anything like that, just to start your day on a good note. Because typically, just try it. Even if it's like 5 minutes, your day will go much, much smoother when you can start like that. Here's another one, how you end your day. So a lot of people like to watch TV before you go to bed, and a lot of people like to watch the news, right? How much positive stuff's on the news?
Nothing.
So, like if I watched the news before I went to bed, I'd be like hyped up, So the thing is, even just reading something instead of watching TV right before you go to bed. I'm not saying you can't if you want to watch, say, the 6 o'clock news, but not right before you go to bed, because again, it can just create more stress for your body. So 3 things: developing some sort of eating plan, which we're going to talk about, burst type exercise, and got to manage those stress levels. And all 3 of those, like I said, you'll start seeing changes within a couple days if you can be able to find ways to implement that. So this is something where I mentioned interval cardio. So we know cardiovascular work, walking. So interval cardio is just like I was saying. If you're walking one level, I'm going to try speed walk for a minute, then I'm going to walk slower. I'm going to speed walk for a minute. So this was using a shorter duration, but this is from a study. So University of New South Wales Medical Science found that burst, or interval cardio, could burn, this one said, about 3 times more body fat than moderate cardio. So the researchers studied 2 groups. One of the groups did 8 seconds of sprinting on a bike, followed by 12 seconds of exercising lightly for 20 minutes. And they lost 3 times as much body fat as those who did continuous for 40 minutes. So you got half the time, but yet they burn 3 times as much body fat. Okay? So it's something that, for if time's an issue, if you can implement something that's less time and get a better result, most people want that, right?
Much better.
Okay? And plus it's less stressful on your body. And you don't have to follow this type of pattern. This is just one technique where they did 8 and a 12. But again, just something to think about if fat loss is the ultimate goal. Okay? And you don't have to do this stuff all the time. You can do it once or twice a week and then do whatever else you like, because it's small changes. Everything you can implement, small changes is going to get you the result that you're looking for. Neglected element, sleep. Okay? And I mentioned this, I think, last guy. It's essential for repair of every cell in your body. Okay, so you have anywhere from 75 to 80 trillion cells, and for your body to be able to repair, you have to have sleep. So if you're getting less than 5 hours of sleep, for most people, that's trouble. For a lot of different reasons, it increases your chance of heart attack and stroke by 200%, so twice as much. So all those things, sleep is really important for, just because it is so important for recovery. Another thing, like say diabetics, or someone that's a pre-diabetic, it creates insulin resistance. So it's bad from that aspect for blood sugar levels, which again, if you're trying to lose weight, is a major problem. Okay? And then the other thing, so lack of sleep, so causes you to want to have high calorie, high carbohydrate foods, okay? Because you're in a deprived state, and that's what your body wants to be able to crave, those sugar type foods when you have lack of rest. So simple thing, you think of sleep, but how much it can affect is tremendous. And we're going to talk a little bit about these hormones on this next page. So this was actually, this is a study here that used 1,000 participants. So the researchers were trying to research how sleep's affected by hormones, or hormones are affected by sleep rather. So we had a group that slept for 8 hours and a group that slept for 5 hours. Okay? So the 3 things here, this is body mass index, which can relate, it's mostly related to height and weight, but just how much someone has their height versus their weight. But the 8 versus the 5, so there's a 3.6% increase in those that slept 5 versus 8 hours. They had a decrease in a hormone called leptin. Okay? Now leptin, what that does is that signals that your body, it's a hormone that signals that your body's full. Okay? So that's where a thing where if you sleep less, that hormone actually decreases. Okay? And then the opposite of that, there's a hormone called ghrelin. And these hormones are very important. Has anybody ever heard of them? Leptin or ghrelin? No? Okay. So when you sleep less, also what happens is it showed a 14.9% increase in this thing called ghrelin, okay? And that triggers your appetite, okay? So the thing about that is the group that slept less had a 14.9% increase in that hormone. So doing the exact opposite of what your body, what you're desiring, just from a sleep standpoint. Here's another thing. So you think of thyroid stimulating hormone. So after 6 days of 4 hours sleep time, this is from a journal called The Lancet. So has anyone heard of thyroid stimulating hormone? Okay. So after 6 days, 4 hours sleep time, there's shown a 30% reduction, just like when someone had a blood test of TSH. So you go get these blood tests, and people like live by them, but at essence, something as simple as that can affect it by 30%. So it's just things that, just how your lifestyle can even impact something like your hormones is very important. So some things that are not recommended if you're trying to lose weight. Okay, we said one already, restricted diets. Okay, restricted diets, number one, most people quit, but a lot of times they slow your metabolism. Okay, because like I said, you'll restrict to, say someone will go, I want to do 1,200, I want to do 1,500 calories. Okay, so the focus becomes on the calories, not necessarily the quality of food. So you become so focused on this calories that a lot of times kind of people eat whatever they want. And it's not, food isn't all the same. If someone ate 1,200 calories of cheesecake and they ate 1,200 calories of broccoli and almonds or whatever, are they going to have the same body composition?
No.
There's no way, okay? So that kind of calories to calories is a complete myth, all right? So what you eat does matter. So with that, instead of focusing on restricting, start to have a real food focus. You guys know what I mean by real food? Mm-hmm. Okay? So just not all the packaged and processed stuff, okay? So I would start right there instead of saying, hey, I'm going to restrict so much. Instead of that, just say, I'm going to try to focus more. I'm going to have the nuts. I'm going to have the seeds. I'm going to have the healthy fats. I'm going to have the good meats. So things that you can implement from that standpoint instead of trying to restrict, like what can I add in that's healthy for me? Okay? And to think of, this is another thing too, your mindset's so important with this stuff, what you think about, even what you think about food. So if you think about it as energy, like it's gonna help fuel me, instead of, hey, it's gonna hinder my or it's gonna hinder me. So for example, if I have this whatever, is that gonna hinder me from getting my result? You know, am I gonna have, if I have 200 calories here, is that gonna hinder me? Don't think of it that way. If I have these 200 calories, what can I put in that's gonna help me get my result? So just even how we think about it can change. And again, when we're talking about hormones, cortisol is a stress hormone, so if we're stressing about something, that can get in the way of us getting our results. So just something to think about. Exercising for multiple hours at one time, we were just kind of talking about that. Now again, I keep on using this word cortisol. Have you guys heard of the word cortisol, the hormone? Okay. So it's a stress hormone. Okay. And this again, exercising for multiple hours increases that hormone. Or the other thing is too often. Now this depends on your intensity. So the thing with that, if I was doing, say, like I want to do that really high intensity exercise and I did that all the time, my body would be wore out. Have you guys heard of CrossFit? So someone that does CrossFit every day, it's really hard on your body. Now some people can recover from that, and it just depends. But if you do it every day, it's hard to recover from that. It's really hard. You got to have like precise eating and be in precise conditions. Some people can, but it's something like that's really, really difficult. So you want to kind of intermix the type of activities that you're doing. Excess caffeine consumption. So again, when you're relying on caffeine, your body's going to be in a stressed out state. Not saying you can't ever have a cup of coffee or green tea or whatever type of caffeine you like from that standpoint if it's a healthier option, but if you live on caffeine and get through the day, not a good idea. Skipping breakfast. That's probably a big one for a lot of people, right? So skipping breakfast shows people that skip breakfast, almost always when you look at an obesity scale, they're always on the top end, okay? Because again, you're not jump starting your metabolism from the time you wake up. Because you got to think your body's went through at night, it's in a fasted state, and it just needs that energy in the morning to be able to jump start its metabolism. The other component with that is most people that skip breakfast, what do they do at the end of the day? They snack, they eat a lot more, and then what happens at night? You go to sleep. So you eat a lot more at the end of the day when your body doesn't need as many calories, and then your body wants to store them. Okay? So just something to think about. And the tough thing, if someone says, hey, I haven't done that in 30 years, just try. The thing you got to do is maybe just try to eat a little bit less at night and try to add that in and roll that over in the morning. Because the biggest thing is people say, well, I'm not hungry in the morning. Well, it's because someone eats so much at night and they go to sleep. So just try to implement that where you try to eat a little bit less at night and try to eat a little bit that in the morning and try to slowly trigger that over to a larger breakfast. Eating large meals before bed, again, you're going to sleep. So your body's going to want to store stuff. Okay? Nothing wrong with eating a little bit, but you don't want to eat a bunch of stuff right before you go to bed. Unless your schedule just warrants that, and then come talk to me at the end. Not having accountability or a defined purpose. So having someone that you can team up with on this stuff is huge. Because I hear it all the time, well, my spouse doesn't want to do this. How much harder does that make that? It's a big challenge. Can you still do it? You can, but it's a lot more challenging. So it might be, hey, I have to team up with a friend or somebody else to be able to try to get the desired result. And just have that accountability that you can have someone to work with on things like this. And a defined purpose. So like, what's your goal? What's your objective? You know, some people might say it's to lose 10 pounds. Well, that's great, but then what happens after that? So it might be something that I want to be healthier long term, or I want to have more flexibility. I want to be able to play with my kids or my grandkids. What's that ultimate objective and goal that you're looking for long term? I want to prevent cancer. I want to prevent heart disease. What's the big picture? So you can keep focused on that, because otherwise you don't have that encouragement to want to keep going if something gets difficult. Because all this stuff, it will get hard. Life will get busy. Things will try to get in the way. So what's that bigger purpose that you can keep focused on? And this is the thing with the small steps, trying to do too much at once. You don't have to overhaul everything at once, because again, that's more challenging. It's going to make you want to quit because you're trying to do too many changes that are uncomfortable. And it's good to be uncomfortable, but again, smaller changes, one thing at a time. And the last thing on here, so carbohydrates in the evening closer to bed, okay? We'll talk more about carbohydrates, but carbohydrates, one of the things is they're a good energy source for the body, but you don't need all that energy before you're going to go to sleep. Because your body, again, if it has too much, it's just going to want to store it. Okay? So try to focus a little bit more on protein and healthy fats closer to bedtime. Top 10 foods for weight loss. It doesn't mean they're the top 10 in the world. It's just 10 that I picked that I think are really good, okay? So these are things that if you can implement, I would, all right? So the first one on here, and I'd probably have this right at the top, is kale. Has anybody had kale? Don't like it?
I
love
try
it.
it. I
Love
like
it?
it in soup.
You like it in soup? Okay, so when it's cooked down. You can eat it.
Is spinach the same thing?
It's not the same thing, but it does have a lot of similar properties. It is a powerhouse vegetable. I don't know who asked that. But,
Me,
okay.
yeah.
But it's not the same as kale, but it's very good for you, okay,
Yeah.
for the most part.
I really like spinach.
But kale is loaded with all kind of, from antioxidants, nutrients. It's a powerhouse superfood. So this is one thing that if you're looking for something to be able to get the vitamins and minerals from a vegetable, this is probably one of the number one things you can eat.
What about kale chips?
They're good, yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't lose its nutrition?
Everything you cook's gonna lose a little bit,
Okay.
okay? So the thing is, but I would say, if that's the way you're gonna eat it and you can get it that way, that's good.
I'm gonna make-
Has anybody ever tried it in like a blender?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's actually not bad. If you put it in a blender
Yeah.
and blend it up, it's not bad. If you
With
can have it.
Blueberries, I mean, you can disguise the
An
taste of
apple?
it.
Yeah, I think that's the
Better.
key, use the disguise. You put it in like a blender, you can, with a smoothie. And if you don't like smoothies, that's fine too. And again, these are just options. You don't have to implement it. If you just want to implement one to be able to start to make a change, that's great. Flax and chia seeds, most people have heard about flax, right?
Yeah.
Have you all ever heard about chia seeds?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So these are different seeds you can eat. Now the one thing about flax seeds, if you buy flax seeds, you have to grind them, okay? Because otherwise you really can't absorb the nutrition from them. Because a lot of people don't grind the flax seeds. And if you put it in a blender or something like that, that's fine. But it's hard to absorb the nutrition if you don't grind it. Chia seeds, you don't have to do that.
Well, they
So you can
do
eat them.
sell the already ground flax, but that, it loses some of the value. Shouldn't you do that fresh? Because I
Yeah,
have a little small coffee grinder that I use
Yeah.
to do that.
That's true. So you could buy it that way. It's going to be more nutrient dense if you buy it and grind it yourself, because it does lose a little nutrition value just sitting on the shelf. So flax and chia seeds, loaded with fiber, okay? Tons of omega-3s, okay? Now when we're talking disease, we're talking even inflammation in the body, which can prevent you from losing weight. You want to be able to bring down the inflammation. Omega-3s are a powerhouse for you to be able to do that. Well, flax seeds and chia seeds are loaded with omega-3s, okay? So
Is that something you'd add to a salad? I mean, you don't eat that by itself, right?
yeah, you could add this pretty much to anything. You could add it to a salad. Some people probably won't like chia seeds on a salad. I'd say a smoothie would be good. You could put it in something you're gonna bake. You could put it on.
Put it in yogurt,
oatmeal.
cottage cheese.
Yeah, you could put it in a variety of different
Cereal.
things. If you're a consistency person, I probably wouldn't get the chia seeds. Okay, because once they're in like something, they can almost get like jelly-like actually.
Yeah, no,
Oh, really?
that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not.
But these are both phenomenal. Okay.
Okay.
Number 3, eggs.
I like eggs.
You like eggs?
Yeah.
Yeah, with bacon.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's you. I thought it was
No,
Okay.
this is gonna be my partner who's gonna help me
That's good.
go through this.
So
luck with
some
that.
bacon, some bacon's not bad. I'm not completely opposed to bacon. Believe it or not, I'm
Good
not completely
bacon.
opposed to bacon. Okay. But eggs are one of the ideal foods. Believe it or not. There's things lutein, which is great for your eyes. Again, omega-3 healthy fats. And actually, this is the thing with cholesterol. Okay. So here's the big deal with cholesterol. So people think if I eat eggs, it's going to raise my cholesterol. Okay. Does an egg have a lot of cholesterol in it?
The yolk.
Okay. The yolk, and it does. Okay. The yolk does. Okay. But here's the thing. So when you eat dietary cholesterol from an egg, it doesn't typically affect your serum cholesterol, which is your blood cholesterol. Okay. So that's for the majority of people. Some people it will. Okay. But for the people that it does, there's something, you guys have heard of LDL cholesterol? Okay. So what it'll do, not all LDL cholesterol is bad. There's different sized particles. So the thing is, what happens when you eat an egg is it'll cause the smaller particles to actually be larger, which is actually more beneficial for you. So it doesn't affect the cholesterol in the way you think, even for those people that it does, not to be complex, and can actually help you. The other thing it does, have you guys heard of HDL cholesterol?
Yes.
Considered the good cholesterol? Eggs actually help raise your HDL cholesterol. There's studies that show if you have 2 eggs for a course of 6 weeks, it'll increase your HDL cholesterol about 10%. So someone looking to boost that, a couple eggs a day, could be huge, okay? Now the thing is when I have like cage-free or something, say like pasture-fed, now the difference with that is probably gonna have more omega-3 content in it if you have that, okay? Blueberries and grapefruit, again, tons of antioxidants. Antioxidants kill free radicals, prevent aging on the body. Lots of other beneficial things as far as fruit, like berries. Blueberries are one of the highest on as far as antioxidant properties, and loaded with fiber. Okay, so if you're talking about adding in more fiber in your diet, here's one to go with.
And we
Okay?
can pretty much get those year round.
Blueberries, grapefruit. Again, lots of vitamin C, which is good for your muscles, good for the immune system, good for recovery. Actually, a lot of studies showing people that eat grapefruit helps to assist with fat loss as well. Okay, so two fruits that I would look at. Wild-caught salmon, loaded with omega-3s again, and healthy protein. Okay, so the other thing with omega-3s, because it's so good for reducing inflammation. If we can reduce inflammation, again, it assists with fat loss. That's a big one. It's important. Garlic, very anti-inflammatory. This is a good immune system booster. So again, something that can boost your immune system to keep it strong. Obviously important when we're talking about fat loss. Green tea. So green tea has a component called ECGC in it. And what that actually does is it actually tells your fat stores to actually release fat into the bloodstream and eliminate it. Okay, so you hear people that say, well, I have like 4 or 6 cups of green tea a day and it helps my body burn fat. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that, but there is some truth in that. The amount of caffeine, like if you had a cup of coffee, probably 100 to 200 milligrams. A green tea would probably be 20 to 40, just if someone's sensitive to caffeine, so it's a lot less. So that's where you could have, say, 5 cups and it'd be like.
Do you recommend a brand of green tea?
I mean, you can get specific with that. I don't have one off the top of my head that I do recommend, but yeah, I mean, obviously the more pure the better. But yeah, you could. But if I was going to start, I'd probably start with something in general, just so you can buy at a general grocery store.
Yeah.
Coconut oil, probably one of the healthiest fats, especially healthy saturated fats, because not all saturated fats are bad. Okay, our body needs saturated fats. About 60% of our brain's fat and cholesterol. You need saturated fat to be beneficial to get your body to be able to reduce fat. It's great for your thyroid. Your thyroid plays a role in your metabolism. This right here, if I had to pick any fat, this is probably the one I would pick overall to start to add in would be coconut oil.
Can you get that doesn't solidify?
That doesn't
Can you get it
solidify?
Well, any coconut oil that I've purchased is solid.
Yep.
It's like a
And can you get it that's pourable at all?
You can, but you probably wouldn't want to because they're going to have to do some things to it to
Okay.
make it that way. So I think it's either 76 or 77 degrees it turns to liquid. So if you like put it next to your stove and say the
Okay.
stove was on, it would turn to liquid. So you can try that.
Yep.
So it doesn't take much temperature, but
Okay.
just at that temperature it'll change. So grass-fed beef, again grass-fed, so when the cows are eating grass they're going to get a lot more omega-3s versus like the grain-fed. So we're going to be loaded with omega-3s. Grass-fed beef has a lot of CLA, conjugated linoleic acid. Some people will take that supplement for fat loss, okay? And that's in grass-fed beef. Avocados have a lot of selenium, magnesium. Magnesium is good for inflammation. Most people are deficient in magnesium. It's a nutrient that, again, can help with fat loss. And, I mean, avocados are loaded with it. They're actually loaded with what's called this is long-chain fats. These are called medium-chain triglycerides. So a different type of fat that your body can get that's healthy. But these are all, I would put them on superfood lists that if you want to add in 1, 2, 3, all 10 of them, you're going to be much healthier overall. These are all foods that really slow down your metabolism. Now you guys probably know a lot of them. Obviously sugar and soda for a variety of reasons. High fructose corn, go ahead.
Does that include diet sodas as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So diet sodas, the thing about diet sodas, like the artificial sweeteners, they do a lot of trickery with the brain. Okay, so for example, if you had, say, a Diet Coke, a lot of times it can influence even your hormones, so you actually think you're more hungry, believe it or not. So you'll find like if someone's drinking diet soda versus regular soda, typically the person on diet soda would actually gain more weight, believe it or not. You're like, how's that even possible? One's 0 calories and this one's, say, 140 calories. It has to do with the way it tricks your brain and how you process to eat or to not eat.
Hmm.
And that's the average person, it doesn't mean everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. High fructose corn syrup, that's again, it's something that's in soda. It's even a cheaper form of sugar, so a lot of foods will try to implement it in there. It's an additive in a lot of foods. Soy can really mess with your digestive system, and again, kind of alter your metabolism, so something you want to avoid. Same thing with conventional pasteurized milk. There's a lot of just the general milk sugar in there, plus the fact that, again, it's hard for your body to be able to digest for some people. And these are things, and again, they're just general things that you don't have to do all of them, but just if you can implement some of these will help you. So general white flour, again, very inflammatory, just like the white sugar, because it's very processed. Canola and vegetable oil are not, they're partially high fructose corn syrup, so they're partially hydrogenated. So something, again, since it kind of goes into this category, better option would be olive oil, coconut oil, hemp seed oil. You can get a lot of different ones. Any processed food, we're going to have additives, flavorings, enhancers. This goes with all this. And all this, again, all this stuff, the more of that you have in your body, it can be almost like blockages for your body to try to process and lose some fat. And carbohydrates in excess. So, you know, you're talking the breads, the rices, the pastas. A lot of that, it creates more insulin in the body. So insulin, if you're really trying to lose fat, now if your focus is, hey, I want to gain muscle, I might not be on the same roll with this. But if my goal is completely to lose fat because of what it does for insulin levels in your body, okay, and again, that's not good for a type 2 diabetic, but insulin levels is going to cause fat storage. So that's where a lot of people have success, number one, with lower carbohydrate diets because it doesn't affect your insulin as much. And initially someone will have a result because your body starts to drop a lot of the water. But the sustained result is from your body, how it affects your hormones. So we're going to go through a couple different ideas. Okay, so we got some ideas. There should be some ones for snacks, for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. Now, I'm not the best at saying meal planning, but I'm just giving you some foods and some ideas. Was everybody here last talk? For the most part? Okay. If you weren't and you guys have a question, there's a list of websites. And these different websites, you can actually subscribe and you can get a bunch of recipes that are sent to you daily. You can go look at all the different recipes. But there are different sites that if you want to go there, they're pretty creative as far as their ideas, and all the foods I do agree with. So, but here's a couple different ideas as far as snacks. I won't go through all these, but you know, almonds with an apple. So here's the thing. If we said, I want to increase fat, fiber, and protein, you're going to increase all of them here. So you're going to get healthy fat and protein from the almonds. You're going to get tons of fiber from an apple. So that would be an example of something you could do to increase all three of these. Got hummus with veggies, protein bar, increase in protein. Yeah, obviously you got the protein, you got the fiber, you get a little bit of fat there depending on what kind of hummus you buy. But here's like a smoothie, whey protein, fruit, vegetables. You can add seeds and oils to that. So